Welcome, curious minds. Today we're really digging into something important happening in the electric vehicle world, specifically the EV market over in China. You've probably noticed all these new EV brands appearing. Maybe you're even thinking about buying one. Well, this deep dive is for you. We want to give you the real story behind the headlines.
Absolutely. It's been quite a ride for, gosh, maybe the last 10 years. China's EV scene felt a bit like a gold rush. Huge government subsidies just fueled this explosion. Hundreds of new EV companies started up. And yeah, many are now exporting cars that look great, seem advanced, and are priced very competitively. But there's definitely more to it than that shiny surface.
Hundreds of brands. I mean, that's just staggering. It almost sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Because we keep hearing about massive EV demand globally. So how can we be talking about a bubble bursting in China? What's really going on?
Yeah, you've put your finger right on it. There are really two big problems here. First, just a massive oversupply of cars. Now, don't get me wrong, EV adoption is growing globally, but in China, the scale of production just got out of hand. Companies were basically incentivized by the subsidies to just produce, not necessarily based on real solid market demand. It created this sort of phantom market. The sheer number of vehicles just overwhelmed the actual number of buyers ready to purchase.
Okay, so it wasn't just a simple miscalculation of how many people wanted EVs, but the whole system was kind of distorted from the start. Interesting. And what's the second big issue driving this instability?
The second one, and maybe this is even more startling, is widespread corruption linked to those government subsidies.
Corruption. Wow. Okay. That sounds pretty serious. How are companies actually, gaming the system like that?
Yeah. Well, it took a few different forms, often quite cleverly designed to exploit loopholes. We saw things like ghost companies, basically shells existing only on paper, set up purely to claim subsidy money without making a single car. Then you had companies just inflating their production numbers, saying they built way more cars than they actually did. Or, a bit more sneakily, setting up subsidiary companies to fake sales figures, selling cars to themselves on paper, essentially just to hit targets and unlock more government funds.
Wow. So this wasn't just like one or two bad apples. It sounds like a pretty systemic issue that let companies without real tech or market fit survive purely on this artificial funding.
Exactly. That's the core of it. So when the Chinese government finally started tightening the rules, pulling back those huge subsidies, well, a lot of companies that were totally dependent on that money, the ones without strong technology or genuine customers, they just vanished. It really exposed how fragile things were beneath that whole gold rush veneer.
That paints a pretty bleak picture for those specific companies. But what about for us, for potential buyers looking at some of these newer, often really attractive brands? What's the direct risk here?
And this is the crucial part for you, the buyer. The single biggest risk is the future of after-sales service. Just imagine you buy this state-of-the-art EV, looks fantastic, drives well, and then maybe a year or two later, the parent company back in China just closes its doors.
Right. So it's not just about the money you spent up front, but the actual usability of the car down the road.
Precisely. Your warranty, it could just disappear overnight.
Yeah.
Trying to find spare parts, especially for the really critical, often proprietary stuff like the main battery pack or the complex control system software, that could become almost impossible. These aren't generic parts you can grab anywhere. The dedicated service centers you were counting on, they might just shut down. And of course, without that support network, your car's resale value would absolutely plummet. Your big investment suddenly becomes a big headache.
Okay, that really makes the long-term picture incredibly clear. It's definitely about more than just the cool design or the initial sticker price.
Exactly right. So, my strongest advice, really prioritize brands that have proven stability. Think global recognition, a solid long-term track record. Or, if you are drawn to a newer name, you absolutely need to verify they have a very strong, very reliable local distributor right there in your country. And that distributor needs a clear, hopefully published commitment to long-term support, spare parts, service, the works. That's your best bet for getting that vital support for the next, say, 5 to 10 years. It's about peace of mind, really.
Yeah, that's incredibly helpful. This whole deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to those crucial factors beyond just the car itself. Nailing down that long-term support seems paramount. Thanks for making that so clear.
My pleasure. It really makes you think, doesn't it? As you consider your next vehicle, or really any big purchase in a market that's changing so fast, it prompts that bigger question for you. How do you actually assess the real long-term value and, crucially, the sustained support behind any significant investment you make? Something worth keeping in mind as we all navigate this future of mobility,